Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for our presentation on Sadlier's We Believe with Project Disciple, the Roman Missal Edition for grades K to 8. My name is Tim Reagan, and I serve as the Northeast Division Manager for Sadlier. In today's webinar, we will cover the We Believe print resources and interactive web components. The presentation is scheduled for 40 minutes with a question and answer session at the end. At this time, I'd like to introduce my colleague and friend, Mike Power. Mike has been involved in ministry and catechetical publishing for over 40 years. He has worked as a parish DRE, a high school department chairman for religious studies, parish music director, and currently is the representative for Sadlier in the Northeast Division. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, folks. Catechist Development Webinar, We Believe with Project Disciple. You'll notice to the right of my picture 3 bullets. What is Project Disciple? And how are the lessons constructed? And how do I use the Catechist Guide? These are the 3 areas that I'll be addressing. And then Tim will be going into internet and digital resources to give you some ways to connect with the Sunday Eucharist from your classroom, to give you ways to build a bridge into the family life, to show you some exciting possibilities that are available that were never available to previous generations of catechists. Here we have the cover of a grade 2 We Believe with Project Disciple book, and if you look in the lower left-hand area, we have the 3 children above their head, 6 words. These 6 words are what constitute the Project Disciple: pray, learn, celebrate, share, choose, live. And the bishops of the world, after the Catechism of the Catholic Church was published, came out with a document to help use that document to convey it to the people of the world. It's kind of the user's guide. And within that document called the General Directory of Catechesis from the Vatican, there are 6 qualities of a disciple. And your mission as a catechist is to develop lifelong disciples of Jesus, just as you yourself are trying to be a lifelong disciple. So how do you know a lifelong disciple? Number 1, do you pray? Sadlier took a long phrase from that document and boiled it down to an action word, a single verb, something you do, you pray. Number 2, do you continue to learn about the Lord? Do you develop a hunger for that and continue that all your life? Number 3, do you celebrate with special emphasis on the Sunday Eucharist? Number 4, do you share? I was hungry, you gave me to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me to drink. Corporal works of mercy. Number 5, choose. Choices to be made. Do you ask God for help when you have a fork in the road and a choice to make? From your childhood right on up into your adulthood. And finally, do you live the Catholic faith? Not just talk about it, but live it. So those are the 6 tasks of a disciple in the eyes of the Catholic Church. Now, when you're teaching any kind of a book, it's always good to refer to the table of contents to get the sense of a lay of the land. Here we have a table of contents from a grade 3 We Believe Project Disciple book. And here we see in the first chapter, God sends us his own son, the chapter heading, and then underneath that we find 4 bullets. Those bullets are what's known as faith statements, and they tie in explicitly with the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And most chapters in the We Believe with Project Disciple will have 4 of these, 80 for the entire year. And below that you'll see scripture passages, Luke 1, 26 to 35. The whole series is very, very rich in scripture. Another aspect you see below, the scripture references as Catholics. What's special about the Catholic faith tradition that we could appreciate and convey to the young people? And then we see the Project Disciple activities, which we'll go into in more depth later. And finally, a chapter test. Now, in the early church, they had something called scrutinies when you were becoming a member of the Catholic Church, mostly with adults. And if you're familiar with the RCIA, you'll be familiar with that. And I'll mention that those are ways of just seeing, did you get it, before we move on to the next level. And that's kind of what we do with the chapters. And there are alternate assessments also. There we see underneath nicely laid out so that you can see the difference from an ordinary chapter and the chapters that deal with the seasonal moments in the church's life. The church year, ordinary time, Advent, Christmas, and then the next two-page spread would get into Lent and Advent and Pentecost and so on. Now the steps of the lesson are three. Many people listening to this webinar are not professionally trained teachers, and we would like to help you to convey the lesson in such a way that Christ's love will be conveyed and it'll be a life-giving experience, something that the children will want to come back to. So there's three ingredients. The first thing you do is you have a prayer experience, and the catechist guide will be instructing you on how to construct a prayer space. Some children don't have much experience of prayer if their parents are not the types who would be praying before meals and before bedtime and so on, and maybe don't even come to the Sunday Eucharist. It accentuates the importance of having a prayer experience, a positive prayer experience in your catechetical class. So you have a prayer experience, and the children have roles in that prayer experience, sometimes leaders, sometimes readers, and so on. And then you get into the heart of the lesson in terms of the doctrinal portion, and that's called We Believe. And then the third part would be We Respond, so put it into action. And I like to think of those three steps as kind of like going to the weekend Eucharist. You arrive, you sit in the pew, and all of a sudden they're starting to sing the song, the procession has started. It's obviously a gathering thing. And then you move into the liturgy of the Word, and it might be first Sunday of Advent, second Sunday of Lent, Corpus Christi, Trinity Sunday. Each one has a theme, a focus. The homily gives you something to take with you when you leave. That's the parallel to the We Believe section where you're imparting the doctrinal portion. And then, again, back in the Eucharist, after the liturgy of the Word, you have the liturgy of the Eucharist. The priest is at the altar, and he says, representing Christ, this is my body broken for you. This is my blood poured out for you. So if you want me to show you beyond words, how much I love you, Christ says, this is my body, this is my blood. So we put it into action in the third step. We respond, and that bridges right into the We Believe with Project Disciple section. So here we see a page with the We Gather section. And you notice in this instance, they're kind of role-playing Mary, Peter, Andrew, James, and so on. So the children get involved in this. Often you'll have a leader or a reader one, reader two. It's ritual prayer. And the children have roles so that when they go to the weekend Eucharist and they see the presider, they say, oh, I've been the prayer leader too in my religion class, in my faith formation class. They see the lectors coming up. Oh, I've been reader one, I've been reader two. It's almost like playing sports, whatever your favorite sport would be. And you might be passionate about it because you played it. If you hadn't played that sport, it might be rather boring because you don't even know the rules and so on. Likewise with prayer, the children are getting an experience of what they will have as their ordinary connect with the Catholic faith later as adults, the Sunday Eucharist. Here we see the We Believe section, and this is the part where the doctrine is imparted. And you remember with the table of contents, I showed you the 4 bullets there in blue ink. Well, here we see them at the top of the page, and also we'll see the vocabulary, keywords there on the right, mission, ascension, Pentecost, jumping off the page in bold ink and different colors. So the children will become literate Catholics. And then the section as Catholics, things that are special about Catholicism will be interspersed all through the lessons, and so that when they become adults, Catholicism is not just another thing the same as everything else, but there is something very special about Catholicism which we hope that they will treasure as much as we do or more. We Respond is the third part of the lesson, and as I mentioned, we'll go into the Project Disciple, which is the extension. And here we see it, the 2-page spread at the end of the chapter, pray, learn, celebrate, share, choose, live. And the activities are catchy. They're quick to closure. They're the types of things that a parent could nicely do with their child without having to spend, endless time on it. And it would be something that you could convey to the parents. Each one of these is not like busy work. Each one is faith formation with one or another of these 6 tasks of catechesis: pray, learn, celebrate, share, choose, live. And so there's no wasted motion with it. And there's a nice bridge that is built into the home with this Project Disciple portion there. You see take home. And this shows you the variety of Project Disciple activities, more than 1,400 of them built into the ends of chapter from grades K through 6. Show what you know, picture this, reality check, make it happen. What's the word? Question corner, fast facts. What would you do? Pray today, celebrate, saint stories, more to explore, take home, now, pass it on, disciple challenge. So you can see that they're very engaging. And here again is the chapter test or scrutiny or whatever you'd like to call it, but just a way that the child can say, yeah, I know this before we move on to the next part. And there are, as I mentioned, alternate assessments. And then we get into the liturgical year. Here we see Advent. And there will be generally about 4 of the faith statements or those little blue bullets worked into the seasonal lessons. And there's not going to be a problem of your missing it and going beyond it. Sometimes the seasonal lessons can be done as a whole community catechesis event, and we have a whole realm built in for that sort of thing. Now here at the end of the book, we have something called a Project Disciple Log. And it's a record of my journey as a grade 3 disciple in this instance. So once again, think of the child not as a grade 3 religious education child or, as they used to call it, a CCD child. No, they're a grade 3 disciple. And there'll be someday a grade 4 disciple and a grade 7 and 8 disciple and a young adult disciple, middle-aged adult, a retiring adult, old age home disciple of Jesus. It's a lifelong thing. So for this particular year, the child at the end of the book, it's a nice little tear-out book where you make a little booklet out of it, and they recount the different things they did in the grade 3 as a disciple. At the beginning of the year, they have a contract or a commitment, kind of a little covenant, if you want to use biblical language, that I'm going to be the best little grade 3 disciple of Jesus that I can be. And I recognize that there are some things that I'm committing myself to learn, to pray, to celebrate, to choose, to share, to live. You can see the bullets above the little commitment where the child signs at the very beginning of the book to make a commitment that they're going to do the things. And then at the end of the year, they have an end-of-the-year prayer service. And once again, this is very much like the type of thing that's done in the rite of Christian initiation of adults, where you have prayer moments that mark the passage of one level to another. So here the child has finished their journey as a grade 3 disciple of Jesus, and they have a little end-of-the-year prayer service where they can mark the fact that they have journeyed with their classmates to try to get closer to Jesus in these 6 ways during this particular year. And then after that, we have something called a sneak peek. And this is what the educational psychologists would call the anticipatory mindset. So this is whetting your appetite for what's to come. It's almost like the trailer of a movie. They show you the previews of upcoming attractions, and you say, oh, I'd really like to see that movie. That one looks great. So likewise here, at the end of the book, the grade 3 disciple of Jesus is getting a sneak peek of what they're going to be doing next year as a grade 4 disciple of Jesus. The sneak peek. Now we'll look at the catechist guide with a spiral on it, and hopefully you have your catechist guides. And here, if you're not a professionally trained teacher, this is particularly valuable to give you the profile of the student from all the wisdom that has been accumulated in the educational community about what the profile would be of a child of this particular age, or grade 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And then that'll give you a good basis for constructing a stimulating, life-giving, love-conveying lesson for the children. Now here, for the family, you'll notice some of the printed resources and also digital resources that Tim Reagan will be going into shortly. But in the upper right-hand corner, we have a Dear Family Note that is a unit opener that gives the parents a sense of what's going to go on in this particular lesson. And then we have the Project Disciple, as I mentioned before, and as I showed, many of those things are quite perfect for giving for quick-to-closure activities for the parents to do as kind of a little assignment. Then there's a Sharing Faith with My Family section in the teacher guide that can be reproduced, and also there are digital references that, again, Tim is going to be going into that I think you're going to find quite astounding. and they are free, by the way. So the resources for the family to build lifelong disciples of Jesus. Now this is the way that the opener looks in the catechist guide of a particular lesson. Here we have the overview, a very concise statement of what are you trying to do in this particular lesson. So that's a quick read and give you a sense of focus for what you're going to try to accomplish in your 60 minutes or 45 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever you happen to have. And then you'll notice the box below that. You have the doctrinal content, and then there are 4 bullets, and those are the same faith statements that I referred to before in the table of contents and all the tops of the pages of the student edition. And you'll see there in that shaded blue box, ... and then a number to the right. And those numbers are Catechism of the Catholic Church paragraphs. So this is explicitly tied in, every single one, even if you're working with a kindergartner, with some faith statement that the Catholic Catechism of the Catholic Church is trying to convey. Keywords, so there we see disciples and apostles, and what page. In this instance, it would be in the student edition. Often you'll have like a page 200 and so, and that'll be a reference to the glossary at the end of the book. So they'll sometimes reference the student book and sometimes the glossary. But all the words that you're going to need for the whole year that you're developing will be in the glossary at the end of the book. Catechist background, again, very valuable for those of you listening that are brand new teachers. And for those of you who are seasoned, you'll also find that good. And after that, there was a reference to the website, too. So here's our 3 steps. And one of the things you'll notice initially is, see all the icons on the page. I see in the middle section there a musical notes. And those are, that means there's going to be a song sung during the lesson. I see a little book there. That's a scripture reference. And the little cross there means prayers. So all those little icons mean something. So once again, the We Gather section will be nicely laid out for you. You can see exactly what's going on. See the forest from the trees, what you're going to do in the prayer section. And then the We Believe, the doctrinal section. And then number 3, the We Respond, Put It Into Action section. And then the reference to the WeBelieveWeb.com website, where there's all kinds of great resources. There are extensions and additional activities, and what you do with the Project Disciple is quite nicely spelled out for you there, so that you can give instructions if you're having this as an assignment, or if you're going to do some of those things yourself, you know exactly what to do. Individual needs, if you have some of those, and differentiated instruction is kind of a fancy word for the fact that we all learn in different ways, and some of us have particular needs too. And additional resources, and reference once again to the website. Enrichment ideas, stories, perhaps you're a storyteller, you can delve into that. Maybe you're into media. As catechists, we all have different styles too. We just want to make sure we get those 3 things across. We gather, we believe, we respond, and we'll each have our own styles. And here we have runoffs, things you can run off on the copying machine as an activity, and that's something that you'll find in the teacher edition, and then Tim will reference additional resources of that sort on the website. And here we see this construction of the student book reduced there with a wraparound format. On the right, there'll be just what you need for preparing to pray, because that's the We Gather section. You see there the prayer space, so it shows you how to lay out the prayer space for that particular lesson. And then this week's liturgy, some people do the prayer thing tying in with the Sunday readings, and you can go to the Sadlier website and they'll give you an alternate way to do the We Gather section if you want to tie it in with this week's Sunday readings. And it'll be all spelled out for you there. Family connection update there, and then we move on to a 2-page spread here. You notice, by the way, the lesson plan below in the lower section is kind of like a recipe card, so that if you've had a busy day, you didn't have as much time to prepare your lesson as you had hoped, and it's kind of like the person who asked, just show me how to boil the egg. You know, how hot, how many minutes I need to boil the egg. Don't give me all the extras, because I'm in a rush. So the lesson plan, the recipe card format will tell you most concisely exactly what you need for that page. And then the marginal things to the right and to the left really spell it out in great detail with the kind of a magnifying glass. And they're always situated right there, right next to the student page, so you know exactly what you need to do. You don't have to call flip-flopping. And multiple intelligences deals with the diversity of learning styles. Now here we see covers for a grade 7 and a grade 8. And in the junior high portion, which is a 2007 copyright, they're almost the same in most instances. They have the 3 steps. Instead of we gather, they call it gathering. Instead of we believe, they call it believing. Instead of we respond, they call it responding. But there are a couple of key differences. If you look at the green cover there on the left, and you get into this, you'll see that there's a big question. So the green cover, I'm crossing the bridge from my childhood to my adulthood. What am I going to take with me as far as my faith life goes, my Catholicism? And kids of this age are questioning. So that's something you don't find in the K-6 portion, is the big question, heavily researched, and there's a digital component to it too that perhaps Tim will reference later. But it shows them before we get into the doctrine of the lesson that this really is something that you're wondering about, and it's kind of a grabber at the beginning, because that's the way that that young people are, adolescents are. They're questioning. They need to. And at the end of the book, I just wanted to mention, too, that they do have prayers and practices richly included in the appendix material, and you will also find that in the lower grades. And also, the next thing that you'll see here is Bible basics. Now, I showed you in the lower grades that Scripture was very rich throughout all the lessons, but when you're coming to the 7th and 8th grade portion, where in many places that's kind of the last shot out of the cannon in terms of a captive audience and a structured catechesis, we'd like you to make sure that you know how to find your way around the Bible. And this is presented also in earlier grades, but it's done in a nice kind of a summary way here in the junior high, the grades 7 and 8. And here's the glossary. All the grades have got them, but here we see it's quite a bit there in the junior high. So we live our faith as disciples of Jesus and as members of the church. So those are 2 key areas that we want to make sure that the students understand before they leave us as kind of a captive audience. Now, the planning guide in the junior high material has what we call the yellow brick road, the gathering, the believing, the responding. Because this is, quote unquote, the last chance to have the captive audience before us, we have constructed, Sadlier has constructed a very, very rich presentation. And those of you who are 7th and 8th grade catechists, you would want to say to your young people, please, please, please don't throw away these books when you're going through the sometimes turbulent years of adolescence and high school, because you're going to find that you'll remember some of those big questions, and you're going to want to go back to these books. So the yellow brick road is what you would use for a once-a-week kind of a format. And you could actually teach it 5 different ways, 5 different years. It's so rich. But you're going to want to do those 3 things that I mentioned to you, the believing, the gathering, believing, responding. Now, praying with young people, that's very rich throughout the whole series, as I think you can appreciate from the way the lessons are constructed. And here, this just gets into Gardner's multiple intelligences. John Gardner from Harvard University, this is all the rage in the educational community, but that we all have different ways of learning. You know, we have verbal, musical, interpersonal, logical, mathematical, bodily, kinesthetic, etc. Then there sounds like a lot of fancy words, but it just gives you ways, which are built into the lessons, of having the lesson come across in a way that really is engaging to the students. So that's worth having a look at. Putting faith in action gets into Catholic social teaching, and this is very rich throughout. And as you can see with the Project Disciple, those 6 tasks, those 6 verbs are action words. And the We Respond section in those lower grades, and all the grades, are going to get into putting it into action. Now I'm going to hand it over to Tim Reagan, who is going to present some very exciting things about the digital elements.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate that. You know, as Mike said, Sadlier's website provides an array of activities and resources that are going to help you, your students, and families learn and live their faith. And you see here, we call this our 24/7 teaching assistant. And the nice thing is it is always available, but it's always available free of charge, and you never need a password. So I just want to point that out and let you know, I really believe that Mike did a great job presenting the materials, the print materials. But I think as you're preparing a lesson, you really want to have the student materials, the catechist guide, but also the web components together, like a blended model. Really, they'll help you extend your lesson and reinforce the content, and sometimes in a fun way, which we'll go through. So the official website is webelieveweb.com, and that's right up here, and you might want to put that in your favorites. However, if you do forget, you just type in sadlier.com, and what will happen is you'll come to this page here, and you see there's two sites. We have the Sadlier Oxford and then the Sadlier Religion. And so we'll click into the Sadlier Religion, and this is going to take you into the Sadlier Religion landing page. And you'll see there's so many ways to get to material. For instance, up in this top banner, depending on the type of visitor, student, catechist, teacher, come across even a priest or a deacon. Or you might know you want to look for something on prayer, so you come over here, or sacraments. Maybe by grade level, and you can see you can search here. I just want to point out, if I put my cursor over here, you'll see we have 15 different websites. We really have so much online for you. Today, we're just going to focus basically on the We Believe, which is the K to 6, and then We Live Our Faith, 7 and 8. So we'll go through those in a second. Just want to point out, this is really, this banner here is what's new with Sadlier. You can follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. Of course, preparing for the Roman Missal, we have resources right in here for you. And if you go over to the right, we always like when you go in here, shopping is highly encouraged and recommended. So that, I just want to point, this is, again, our religion landing page. So we're going to go in as a catechist teacher. And once it's going to even narrow the search a little more. So once you get in here, you're going to pick your grade level, and we're going to say K to 8. And here we are at the Sadlier We Believe with Project Disciple K to 8 page for resources. Actually, you'll see this tab right here. Excuse me, right along here, a running banner. These are the most widely searched activities and resources on our website. So you'll see the Roman Missal is real big, Lives of the Saints, the interactive whiteboard, which we'll get into. But if I scroll down here, this is some of the evaluation tools. For instance, scope and sequence. You might be teaching 4th grade, but you want to find out what they learned in 3rd grade, so you would click on here to see exactly what they covered. A lot of times when people talk about spiral curriculum, you might want to know what that is. Click in here and you'll get some more information. Mike did a terrific job on presenting the material, but here's a section where it's really an in-service for you. So if you want to go through and get a refresher, this will pop up, and it's interactive. There's an audio and video component. And what I'll do is, Mike mentioned 6 tasks in the child book. I'm just going to go into catechist section, and I'm going to turn my volume up, and I'm going to click Overview and Lesson Plans.
Your We Believe with Project Disciple guide provides you with everything you need. The overview and lesson planning guide for each chapter.
So you see that's there for you anytime. I'm just going to get out and go back into the page. And this is the tool over here on the left-hand side of the page. It's called Take Me To. This really unlocks all the resources from the We Believe page. So we're going to go in and we're going to say we're a 4th grade catechist, and we're going to want to see some activities. So I'm going to click Go To. And once you get to this page here, you're going to want to look at these 3 tabs: activities, articles, and resources. And this is where you'll find everything you need as you're preparing for a lesson. So I want to go start. Actually, you can find them over here as well, just in case. We'll give you a few ways to get to things. So I want to go into some activities. We're there now. And Mike mentioned there's a great deal of activities in the student materials, the catechist guide, but we also will help you with online activities. So if I click chapter, there's one for every chapter. I want to go down and click games. We have so many games, interactive games. I'm going to go into the commandments. We'll do a look at a quick commandment activity. Here's the great one. It's really interactive. Kids have a lot of fun with this. They basically will hold this and find out where it should go. And, oh, I got it wrong, so maybe Oh, there we go, number 2. So we got that right. So the kids will keep going along until they get it right, and they have a lot of fun with it. You can print this out. There's directions here. So that's a real popular item. Also, the content connection is another one. It's interactive and a lot of fun. It's either a snowman or maybe someone, they'll have a man in a picnic. And what happens is the kids will they'll be told a hint down here. The blank told people about God's love, to trust, and have faith in God. So they'll come up here and try to guess the letter. So if you guess wrong, you'll see what happens is he starts melting. So they don't want that. They get a little sad, and so they really are trying to focus. They don't want to see the snowman melt, so they really will, really study and work hard to make sure the snowman doesn't melt. But there's really a lot of fun things here online. Let's see. This crossword puzzle is another great feature where you can go in. It is interactive, but you can also print these out. And something that's somewhat new is the flashcards. People ask at exhibits, do you have flashcards? And for a long time we didn't, but now we do. And you come in on the interactive, but the nice thing about it is you can print them out. But this will be the 10 Commandments on the back will give you the definition. You can reshuffle the cards. You can invert the cards, go to the next card. So this is one of 22, and this will be for grade 4, unit 2. So I'm just moving along. There's interactive whiteboard activities. You might have access to the interactive whiteboard in your classroom, but not every parish has that. You can direct the kids at home to do these, and that would work just as fine. But I just want to make sure that you know they're there for you, one for every chapter. They're very similar to the interactive games down here, so you'll see some similarities. The chapter reproducible masters, again, one for every chapter. And another great feature is the study guide, a great diagnostic tool. We call it a quick self-assessment guide online. And basically one for every chapter. And what you do is you click in. The kids will do this. They'll type their name up here. They'll come down and they'll take the interactive quiz. I'm just going to do it quickly. And nice thing about it, I'm just going to put in Tim again, see what happens, and we'll put in, how about A? Kids shouldn't do this at home. Let's see. I'm going to say, check your work. It says you've not answered one question. I'll say that's okay. And it's going to basically check it right away for you, give you the answer, and then let you, if you like, let the kids take it again. And it's really been well received. It's a great, like I said, diagnostic tool. You can use it as a review. You can have the kids actually take it and copy this little link right in here and send it to you as an email. So that's just some real neat ways to use the study guides. Again, one for every chapter. Lives of the Saints is also a real popular feature. You might mention saints that are in the program, but we have them also online. Here's St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. And we give you a lot of information about the saint, what she said, what the world was like, who she was, what the saint means to us today. And so we give you a lot of information, but the neat thing about this is it's an activity. There's always an intermediate activity. You'll click right here, or primary activity. So it's just really a nice, again, another activity. I mentioned there's several online, but you don't see them. So what you have to do is go into the archive section, and pretty much anything we have, if you don't see it, look up here and you'll click archive. And so I'm going to click into that, and you'll see several saints. You can basically sort them by alphabetical. You click that again, go the other way, alphabetical there, or by the feast day. So I'm going to click that, and they should pop up. Just a second, coming up. Here we go. So that's just a great way to search. I just want to mention something here. If I go back up, there's a few ways. If you see a saint you like online, you say, oh, I want to share that. You can do that through the different social media. You can email it, or you can print that out. And you'll notice these three things pretty much on all of our pages. Also, everything you'll see, if you see this little link here, everything is in Spanish as well. So as I'm going through, you'll see these links, and you'll want to know that you can, again, have them in Spanish, pretty much everything we have. And again, the archive is real important. So I'm going to go back. Actually, we went through most of the activities. So I'm going to go into articles. And we have some real neat things on vocations, letters from Africa or postcards from the Vatican City. Again, live links. You go in there and explore. From my home to yours, Kathy Hendricks does a blog for us that's there, that's updated regularly. Mike mentioned Catholic social teaching. You'll find that here, several resources on Catholic social teaching. I just want to go into this catechist development section. This is a great help for you. If you have some things you want to go over and you say, I need some more information, go into this section here and you'll find almost 100 catechist development articles. Now again, the first one here, you'll say, where are they? This is from Father Ron Lewinsky, who's doing something on the Roman Missal. This is 12th in a series. So you might want information on the Roman Missal. So again, you go into this archive section, you'll click this, and you scroll down and you'll see all the different articles. And again, you can search them by topic. You can catechesis, church, evangelization, etc. You can search them by, if you know the author, search by author or the title. And they're very short, succinct articles that show you how to apply them in your parish and even in your homes. So that's there for you. I just want to mention. So we went through our activities, articles. Now we'll go into some resources. The resources page has so much, and we're just going to touch a few things in depth. Well, one of them is actually Gather My Name, and I'd like to get into this, but it has so much. But I just want to point it out. Gather My Name is a whole community catechesis events. There's about 10 of them online now that you can get in, and they're PowerPoint that you can apply in your parish. So go into that if you are thinking of doing whole community catechesis events. Question of the week. These are great things. I think Mike mentioned this. You can put this in the bulletin. Just really a nice feature of question of the week. Liturgical year and this week's liturgy. You might show a section in the student book where we always say, let's make that connection to the Sunday liturgy. And so we do that online. If I click this, you're going to find this week coming up, September 25th. If I click that, there's always a seasonal prayer, and then there's activities to help with the readings. And then the readings will be down here. So this is a real nice feature, trying to make that connection, especially when you get into these activities, again, in Spanish. And if I just go back into, resources. 1 second, it's going to come up. This week's liturgy. This is the current week, but if you want to go back to previous weeks or upcoming weeks, you'll find those right here. So I just wanted to point that out. Now I want to go back into some more resources. If you're looking for some correlations, you'll find some of these right here. Here's just a couple neat things. You know, in the Catechist Guide, we might make reference to a video or print resource. And you now want some more information on that. Go online here, and we'll provide that for you. For instance, in Unit 1, page 19D, if you're preparing Chapter 1, we'll give you more information. We'll tell you where to get the video, or where to get the book, or maybe get more information about that. Again, so as you're preparing your lesson, we have all those things for you online. Also, we follow the Bishop's protocol on web links. So we'll provide just hundreds of links for you to go in, again, to help prepare or extend the lessons. Mike mentioned the glossary. It's in the back of the book pretty much, and the Catechist Guide for every book we have. But also there's a real neat audio glossary. And so if I go in here and click, here's something on the martyrs. And the neat thing is we'll give you the definition. Now, depending if you're using the school edition, we'll tell you which page or the parish. But the neat thing is an audio little link here. And I'm going to click this, and it's going to give you the
martyrs. People who die rather than give up their belief in the risen Jesus.
So we have that little link here for every definition that we have, grades K to 8. So I wanted to let you know that. It's a new feature that we have. I want to go back out to resources, and basically I'm winding down. I know there's so much online that I can go over, but we wanted to keep this to 40 minutes, so I just really wanted to go over the main ones. So I went through, again, this is the most important. Remember, as you get in, you're going to want to go into activities, articles, and the resources tab to find everything online. And you always want to look for your grade level, and that's usually right here. So I'm going to basically see if there's any questions. There was a chance for people to ask some questions online. Mike, do you have anything that you want to add?
Well, just I love it when you show the prayers in English and Spanish.
Oh, great. You know, in fact, that is a question. Someone did ask about that. So I'm going to go back into this resource tab here, and I want to scroll down, and I think I went over that too quickly. I went into the glossary, but I didn't go into prayers, but you'll find that right here. Mike, anything in particular you want to point out?
Just any old one, but play it in English and Spanish, I think.
Okay. Let me see if I can, let's go into a Spanish one first. So here it is in Spanish. I'm going to click this little icon.
Ave María. Dios te salve María, llena eres de gracia. El Señor es contigo. Bendita tú eres.
So you see that we have it in Spanish, but if I go in, I'm just going to go into Act of Faith.
Act of faith. Oh God.
And English, you see. This is great for all students, but especially English language learners. Some of the students that come in might need help with that, and this is a great, you direct them to this site, and it would really help them with, again, the glossary as well as prayers. Mike, here's another question that came up, and that is the ancillary materials for We Believe. And basically, Mike went through the student materials and the catechist guide. I went through some of the online components. But we also have an assessment book, a family book, a music program, including a CD and a program director's guide, and also a review and resource book. Is that it, Mike? Anything you want to add to that?
And there's also there's an individual CD for each of the grade levels from K to 6 for the music, and there's also a song book that's in a spiral format, and it's got everything, all the notation chords and so on.
You know, here's another one, Mike, that someone asked about. I showed a lot on K to 6 on the website, and they say, what about K to 8? So I'm just going to see if I have a second to go into, say, the We Live Our Faith. It is a little different format on the 7th and 8th grade, and you'll see it's We Live Our Faith. You might like this part over here about the polls, and what is your favorite? Well, this is what is your favorite feature on We Live Our Faith site. And I think if I put this, I think it is study guides. I'm going to click that, but we have polls on so many different things, and Mike likes the big question. This one here, I was right. Study guides is the most widely used program. But you'll see here, this is some things for students, mentor moments or the project disciple activities. Mike mentioned, I just mentioned
just
several
show
polls
them that,
to download.
the Discover polls.
Okay. Here's one. The first one that pops up is the best way that young people today can make a difference is, and then it gives you 4 things: becoming volunteers, voicing opinions, becoming educated about current issues, fundraising for a worthy cause. So the kids will go in and say, you know, I'm going to try to take, I think maybe becoming volunteers, and they're going to say, oh, let's see how that matches up. And actually, that is the number one. 46% of the kids say becoming volunteers is
and that's real data from around the English-speaking world.
Right. Anyone's using this, and here they are. And these are the different polls that they will find throughout the program. So, yeah, that's it. There's also a section here, what if I'm asked about? Some real hot topics and controversial topics, and divorce, war, abortion. Well, we really just give you the Catholic teaching on these topics. For instance, war or abortion. So we'll give you that. Kids ask those questions, 7th and 8th grade especially. And if you see something that might not be here, go in up here, type it in, and email it to us, and we'll try to help you out there. So I just wanted to let you know that. But there is so much more. Again, online, there's games and crosswords here. What if I'm asked about it? Letters from Africa. A lot of the things, some are similar to K to 6, but then there's some different things as well. So I think that's it with the questions, Mike. Just so I'm winding down. Anything else, Mike?
No, but thanks everybody for listening. This has been
yes,
great
we appreciate it. Again, just go online, and if you have any questions, email Mike or myself, and we will get back to you. But thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. All right? Thank you so much.
All the best.